Good morning, everybody. As has been said, my name is Olivia Mulerwa. I'm Assistant Director for Africa and International Partnerships at the Thunderbird School of Global Management at ASU. And it's such a pleasure for Jess and I to speak to you this morning about the Sustainable Development Goals and Beyond Task Force, which is really ASU's way of trying to wrap our hands around all the wonderful activities and projects going on across the university in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals. This effort is, next slide. This effort is co-led by, next slide. This effort is co-led by the Global Futures Lab, as Jess alluded to earlier, and the Thunderbird School of Global Management, under the co-leadership of Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, who is the Dean and Director General at Thunderbird, as well as Amanda Ellis, who is the Director of Global Partnerships for the Global Futures Laboratory, and is also a former UN ambassador. And I guess it's interesting to note here that Amanda was actually one of the few people in the room when the SDGs were actually being negotiated. So she brings a lot of insight and context to how we actualize the SDGs at ASU. Next slide. So we divide our engagement across ASU across 3 different work streams. So one is the SDG and Beyond portal, which we hope will be a one-stop shop for everybody who wants to know what ASU is doing in relation to the SDGs. The portal is still in development, but we'll show you a little snippet of what that looks like a little later. And then we also have specific partnership pillars that are geared towards, several goals, as you will see, that we think are very central in terms of ASU's work on the SDGs. And we're also thinking about post-2030. As you know, the SDG agenda will be completed by 2030, but the work of sustainable development will certainly not be completed. And so as a task force, we're already thinking about how do we position ourselves to respond or to continue to do sustainability work beyond the SDG agenda itself. Jess?
Sure. And I'm happy to talk a little bit about the portal itself. So this is just a mock-up of what the information on the portal could look like. And as Olivia alluded to, so it's a way of basically being able to organize ASU's research and education and initiatives using an SDG lens as a way of being able to meaningfully sort through that information. So this is obviously SDG 6, this is clean water and sanitation, which is one of the leading partnership pillars that our task force has identified, which is basically the areas that ASU's doubling down for a multiplier impact, and being able to note that this is an area we're already succeeding in and that we also want to continue our global innovation in. So this portal really is meant to demonstrate just that, and being able, you'll see the discovery, learning, solutions, networks, and engagement, which are the different areas that we're going to be separating the work, and then all the different kinds of databases that you would imagine from around the university being able to be plugged in and visualized in a meaningful way for both staff, for students, for faculty, and even prospective ASU community members that are looking at ASU and wanting to know what kind of information and what kind of projects are happening around our university. And so these are the partnership pillars that are the different SDGs that ASU has identified as being those multiplier impact ones. And so we of course don't have time to go into all of them and all the amazing work we've done, but Olivia's going to talk a little bit about specifically some of the exceptional work across SDG 11 and what Thunderbird's up to there.
Thank you, Jess. For all of you that are familiar with the SDGs, you know that they were really written with national level implementation in mind. And so we've had at Thunderbird the opportunity to work with cities, beginning with the city of Los Angeles, on how to exactly localize the SDGs within the context of a city. And so that work has been, on everything from how do you take the actual targets and indicators within each sustainable development goals and align them to city targets and metrics so that it makes sense within the context of the city itself. So to give you an example, SDG 1 is about ending global poverty, and poverty is defined within that context as living on less than $1.90 a day. If you're familiar with LA at all, you know that the definition of poverty within the context of LA is probably, different than that. And so we've been supporting the city of Los Angeles through cohorts of students working during the summer to sort of take that SDGs language, but also to think about what it really means within the context of the SDGs. And as part of that work, the city of LA was able to submit its voluntary local review report last year and is working on a second report. And since then, we're excited to be able now to also partner with the city of Phoenix and doing similar work.
Great, and as we said, right, I think we could spend all day talking about these SDGs for both Thunderbird and GFL. I'm excited to be able to briefly talk about gender equality and some of the leadership that the Julianne Wrigley Global Futures Laboratory is up to across SDG 5. And I'll pop this into the chat afterwards, but this is one of the main landing pages we have that's starting to really exemplify the SDG 5 gender equality work we're up to. So this is specifically a set of training and modules for parliamentarians and global decision makers on women and gender that crosses a lot of different topics. So we have peace and security, we have laws, we have women's leadership, and there's one more that was that's peace and security, or in addition to peace and security, that complements that video. And so it's on this website that's really meant to be an information tool and an educational tool, as well as a decision-making tool. And so these are just some of the partners that we were able to round up and work with across these different videos, and really a way of being able to have an eye towards global governance and how ASU can help influence that global level decision making, especially when it comes to SDG 5, but of course across all the sustainable development goals as well. And so this is a tool that was actually co-created with the Luminosity Lab, and it's a global notification system tool that alerts different countries and the commitments they have with the Human Rights Council, and being able to showcase specifically what outstanding laws that discriminate against women there are in these countries. So if you were to click on a country, you would be able to have a one-pager pop up from the World Bank, which provides a score for equality with specifically in regards to laws with women. And so there's all the different metrics that you can imagine across a woman's lifetime, and being able to compare those and then have a finalized score. So it's a really interesting way to hold countries accountable, and it's a system you can sign up for. And again, I'll pop that into the chat afterwards. So with that, I'll hand it one last time back to Olivia, and we'll talk about one of the flagship events that our departments were able to collaborate on.
Thank you, Jess. So as part of the collaboration between the Global Futures Lab and Thunderbird through this task force, we were able last year to participate in the UN Global Compact flagship event in honor of I believe it was the UN General Assembly. And so through that event, we were able to curate live and recorded sessions really on various themes on the SDGs that brought together 36 hours of unique content with 142 global partners, with over 12,000 registrations from 160 countries around the world. For us, as part of this collaboration, this effort was really an example of what we can do together as an institution when we bring all of our resources to bear. It was such a success that the UN Global Compact has now asked ASU to be its primary partner for all its events going forward. And so we're very excited to see how that partnership is going to shape up in the future in terms of exposing even more audiences to the amazing work that ASU and the communities we support are doing around the Sustainable Development Goals. And so what's next for the task force? Really at its inception, the task force had the simple goal of trying to wrap our hands around all of the work that's being done at ASU on the SDGs. And so now as we do that and we continue to do that, we've also recognized that the task force brings together such a rich body of resources in terms of expertise across the university. And so we're thinking now about what task force activities we can do together. And one of those, as I mentioned, is working to support the city of Phoenix to submit a voluntary local review in September. And beyond that, to think about how it will continue the work of localizing the Sustainable Development Goals in Phoenix. We're also looking to work with the UN Global Compact for their annual conference in June. June, again, leveraging all of the expertise that we've developed over the last year in terms of organizing virtual events, but also bringing global communities together to discuss important themes. We're also working on partnering to attend and present at the International Leadership Association conference. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So that was a lot of information at once. Olivia and I will put our information in the chat. If anyone wants to reach out, we're always happy to talk. And we want to thank you for inviting us and giving us an opportunity to talk about the SDG and Beyond Task Force. Thank you.